StoryCon presents BackStory, a podcast featuring writers, readers, and their stories, hosted by best-selling author Jennifer A. Nielsen.
Nick was always a child of promise. That's what his mom always told him, and his grandfather too, among others, that there was something special about him, something different. With that confidence in his sales, Nick grew up believing that he had something to offer this world, not in arrogance, but in the core belief that he had it in him to make a difference. And beginning early in his life, he was. Years ago, Nick was a teacher with the organization Teach for America, which helps bring educators into underserved classrooms. Suddenly, he had a classroom full of kids he deeply cared about. He watched them become engaged with learning and excited about reading. He watched their minds open as they finally understood a concept in math or science, or even as they made a new friend or grew more confident. But what he wasn't able to do was watch them earn a much-coveted award at the charter school where he worked, the PATH Awards, given to students who demonstrated important values such as preparedness, grit, or perseverance. Other students earned them, but never Nick's students. There was a simple reason why. Nick taught in a kindergarten classroom, and the values that were awarded weren't yet part of his students' vocabulary. How could a student show grit if she couldn't define it? How could the student make sure they were prepared if they didn't know what the school expectations for preparedness were? Looking back, that's such a simple thing, to ensure students knew the meaning of the value they were expected to achieve, and yet Nick seemed to be the first to be aware of it. Maybe the awareness came so easily because Nick hadn't grown up far from the places where he now taught. He knew that these kids could achieve great things, that they were children of promise, and certainly they could win some of those value awards if only someone believed in them, the way that Nick's mother and grandfather and other adults always had believed in him. Fortunately for his students, Nick was not the kind of person to see a problem and not find a solution. Instead, he set about to write beginning reader books, small stories to explain what perseverance is, and courage and humility. Those books began adding up. Finally, Nick's principal suggested he take the books to the charter school board, who gave him the seed money to get some of these books illustrated and self-published. This was Nick's first step into publishing. At the time, he was in graduate school with an emphasis on early childhood education, and he began developing curriculum with these books. Teach for America heard about his work and asked him to come onto their general staff, which he did, and where he began selling the books to charter schools all over the country. It was great. By all measures, Nick had made a great success of his life, and while he recognized where he was, he knew there was still something more out there, something he wanted to be part of. Around that time, Nick watched a movie called Fruitvale Station, the first movie directed by Ryan Coogler and released in 2013. Ryan Coogler would go on to work on such films as Creed, Black Panthers, and 2025's Sinners. So, Nick had the problem, but once again, he found the answer he was seeking. If he wanted to get to where Ryan Coogler was, and he thought that sounded pretty amazing, then he needed to do the same things that Ryan Coogler had done. So Nick applied to and was accepted at the same film school that Coogler had attended. He made a short film because Coogler had made a short film. Now that film was placed in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Film Fest. It earned Nick a full scholarship from George Lucas and brought in several other awards and recognitions. Now our author for this week's interview, Nick Brooks, he will tell you that the rest is history. And he might skim over the fact that he continues to work on films and that, in fact, he is writing a screenplay for his newest release, Up in Smoke. Nick might only briefly reference the album he produced for that book with the same name, Up in Smoke, and under his rapper name of Ben Kenobi, with over 1 million plays on Apple. If that weren't enough, Nick is the author of Promise Boys, which won a pile of awards, including the prestigious New York Public Library and Kirkus's Best Book of 2023 award. That boy of such promise grew up to be an educator, a filmmaker, a musician, an author, and so much more, inspiring a new generation to also be young people of promise. I'm so thrilled to be able to interview Nick Brooks. Be sure to check it out.
Thank you for listening to BackStory. If you'd like to enjoy more episodes, visit us at storycon.org/backstory. That's StoryCon.org/backstory.